Today, we're taking a deep dive into the United States, specifically the year 1950. And our mission, like always, is to pull out the really key bits of knowledge, the important insights from the source material we've looked at.
They'll give you that shortcut.
Exactly, a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about what was really a pivotal year.
Definitely a turning point.
You can sort of think of 1950 as this significant turning point, right? The moment the nation started moving, really shifting from the difficulties of World War II into a time of pretty amazing economic growth and, well, huge cultural change, too.
Yeah, it's really where the foundations for modern America started getting laid down. You can see the shape of it.
You really can.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how you have all these different things happening at once.
Yeah.
They seem separate, but they're not.
Like what?
Well, you've got this real post-war prosperity building up.
Right.
A cultural scene that's just bursting with energy, becoming really vibrant, and then sort of lurking in the background, or maybe not so lurking, is the shadow of the Cold War tensions just starting to emerge. It's this year where like optimism and this new kind of anxiety are starting to really mix together.
That's such a key point. Because it's easy looking back to just see the good stuff, or maybe just the worry.
Right.
So to really get a handle on it, we probably need to start with the day-to-day stuff, the economic picture.
Makes sense. What life cost, what people earned.
Yeah. So in 1950, the U.S. economy was, well, it was really expanding, firing on all cylinders, you could say.
And that wasn't just luck.
No, not at all. It was heavily driven by veterans coming home, getting back into the workforce.
Right, the GI Bill effect starting too.
Industry really kicking into high gear again after the war, and, people just wanted to buy things. Consumer demand was way up.
Absolutely. So what did that actually look like money-wise for an average family?
Well, the average household income back then was around $3,300 a year.
$3,300. Okay. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can really see the groundwork for the modern consumer economy is starting to be laid right there.
Totally. And think about this, a new car, like maybe a Chevy style line or a Ford Custom, those popular models.
Yeah, the ones everyone wanted.
They cost about $1,500.
$1,500. Wow. So less than half the average yearly income for a brand new car.
Exactly. That really tells you something about the growing affordability, doesn't it?
It really does. It fueled that whole boom in car culture. Suddenly, owning a car wasn't just for the wealthy. It was becoming achievable, a real symbol.
A symbol of that post-war dream, and housing too, right? There was a huge surge.
Oh, massive. The average cost for a new house was about $7,354.
$7,000.
Yeah, driven by that post-war construction boom, building homes for veterans, for new families starting out. Levittown and places like that were just starting.
Right. And if you were renting?
Average rent was around $92 a month.
$92, okay.
And groceries. For a family of four, maybe about $32.50 a week, which, reflected agriculture getting back on its feet, more food options becoming available after wartime rationing.
So, if you try and imagine living on those numbers, it really paints a picture of, well, a nation feeling like it was moving forward, right? Building something new.
Definitely a sense of optimism, of possibility, economically speaking, but
yeah, there's always a but.
There is.
Yeah.
Because just as things seem to be looking up economically, these new tensions, new challenges started creeping into the political landscape.
Right. The shadows, as you called them earlier, that optimism bumping up against anxiety.
Exactly. Hope could turn to, well, heightened anxiety pretty quickly.
So what was the big trigger? What really shifted the mood?
Well, the main event, politically and globally, was definitely the start of the Korean War.
June 1950.
That's it, June 1950. And this wasn't seen as some far-off conflict. The U.S. sent troops almost immediately to back South Korea against the North.
And that had huge ripple effects back home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It significantly shaped U.S. foreign policy, pushing towards more global interventionism. And maybe even more importantly for daily life, it really cranked up the Cold War anxiety.
So suddenly the headlines weren't just about new cars and houses.
No. Suddenly it's the Korean War dominating the news and this growing fear, this real fear of communism inside the United States. That became a top story.
The Red Scare really taking hold.
And that led to actual policy changes. You had the National Security Council, the NSC, establishing new policies aimed at dealing with these threats, both, overseas and perceived threats domestically.
It's really striking how fast those global events could change the feeling at home, from that, post-war hopefulness to this real nervousness.
It is, and it raises an important question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How did those initial fears about communism, the ones really taking root in 1950, how did they echo through the rest of the century?
That's a big question. Those NSC policies, the general atmosphere, how did that actually touch people's lives, beyond just reading scary headlines?
Well, that whole Red Scare atmosphere definitely fostered a climate of suspicion. It affected jobs, loyalty oaths became a thing, it influenced Hollywood, education. It sort of permeated public life in a way that created this underlying tension.
Right, so you have this backdrop of global conflict and domestic fear, but at the very same time, life was also being transformed by some pretty amazing positive developments, particularly in health.
Yeah, it's a real contrast, isn't it? While the world's grappling with these huge geopolitical shifts, there's this quiet revolution happening in medicine.
And the big one, the real breakthrough people felt.
Oh, without a doubt, it was the widespread, successful use of antibiotics, specifically penicillin.
Penicillin, still crucial today, but back then?
Back then, it was utterly transformational. I mean, it drastically cut death rates from bacterial infections, pneumonia, strep throat, wound infections, things that used to kill people routinely.
Suddenly weren't necessarily a death sentence.
Exactly. It wasn't just about saving lives, though that was huge. It changed the whole psychology around health. A simple cut wasn't automatically terrifying anymore.
That must have brought such incredible relief, especially for parents worrying about their kids.
Absolutely. Just a fundamental shifting everyday anxiety levels. Yeah. Huge, long-term societal implications.
Okay, so people are maybe feeling a bit safer from infections, they're buying houses, cars. What were they doing for fun? What was the cultural vibe? What kind of entertainment were people into?
Well, the culture scene was definitely buzzing, lots of energy. For music, the #1 song that year was Mule Train by Frankie Lane.
Mule Train, okay.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Kind of a country pop crossover hit. Very rhythmic, catchy, almost a novelty song in some ways, but it absolutely captivated people. Got stuck in everyone's head.
Huh. And what about screens? TV was starting to be a big deal.
Oh, huge. It was rapidly taking over living rooms.
Yeah.
And the #1 show on television in 1950, the Texaco Star Theater.
Hosted by?
The one and only Milton Berle, Mr. Television.
Right, Uncle Milty.
Exactly. That show drew millions, literally millions of viewers every week. It was classic variety comedy sketches, singers, dancers, all hosted by Berle with his manic energy.
It really became appointment viewing, didn't it? A family staple.
Totally. He was one of the first true TV superstars. Master of slapstick, costumes, really knew how to use the new medium. It gave people an escape, a shared experience.
It sounds like music and TV were really shaping how people spent their downtime. And that feeling, that post-war optimism we talked about, it wasn't just in the economy or the entertainment, right? You could actually see it.
You could literally wear it. Fashion in 1950 definitely mirrored that mood.
How so?
Well, it reflected a return to maybe normalcy, a bit more polish after the austerity of the war years.
Okay. So for guys...
For men, tailored suits were back in vogue. You could get a new one for around, say, $40.
$40.
Yeah. And a dress shirt might be about $20.
Yeah.
The whole look was about being polished, classic, a sense of order, maybe.
Putting the uniform away, getting back to civilian sharpness.
Something like that. And for women.
What was the look?
Very feminine silhouettes were dominant. Think elegant dresses costing around $30 or so.
Okay.
They really emphasized fitted waists, full skirts. Dior's new look from a few years earlier was still hugely influential. It was all very emblematic of that post-war revival. A return to glamour, maybe?
It makes sense. The clothes reflecting the broader feeling of rebuilding, of hope, a kind of visual optimism.
Perfectly put. A tangible expression of it.
So we have this growing consumerism, this cultural vibrancy, this specific look. But underpinning it all, there was still this significant military presence, right? Especially with Korea starting.
That's right. Those forces were definitely intertwined. Even amidst the domestic boom, there was an ongoing commitment to military readiness.
And what did that mean for, say, someone serving?
Well, the average monthly pay for someone in the military was about $150.
$150 a month.
Yeah, which you have to see in the context of that time, that era of, international uncertainty heating up again. Maintaining readiness was crucial.
But it wasn't just about military tech. 1950 was also a year for some really interesting civilian inventions, things that would change everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. A real hotbed for innovation. that we still feel today.
It's amazing how many things we just, take for granted now got their start right around then. What are some standouts from 1950?
Well, get this. 1950 saw the introduction of the very first general-purpose credit card.
The Diners Club card.
The Diners Club,
Yeah.
the beginning of plastic.
Pretty much. It fundamentally revolutionized spending. Suddenly, you could buy things, travel, eat out on credit. A massive shift that, laid the groundwork for how we all shop now.
Hard to imagine life without it, for better or worse.
Right. And beyond that, you had the continued growth of television, obviously, but that spurred other things too. Household appliances were really taking off.
Like what?
Think electric blenders, things like that. Starting to appear in more kitchens, making tasks easier, saving time, reshaping daily life in small but significant ways.
So what does this all mean for the conveniences we rely on today? Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see how these early innovations, things like the credit card or the new appliances, they really set the stage. They were the seeds for the modern conveniences we interact with constantly, often without even thinking about it. They changed how we lived, how we managed our homes, how we spent money.
Yeah, it really feels like 1950 was such a defining moment, a hinge point in American history.
I think that's fair. It had this really unique mix, didn't it? Strong economic recovery, this explosion of cultural energy, and at the same time, the very real beginnings of those Cold War tensions that would dominate for decades.
Yeah, you see it all packed into that one year, the music scene buzzing, TV becoming central, those big political shifts happening.
It captured that spirit of, both optimism and change that really marked the post-war era, but also that undercurrent of anxiety.
It definitely laid the groundwork, didn't it, for so many transformations that kept shaping American society, our economy, our culture, our place in the world for the rest of the century and beyond?
Undeniably. The ripples from 1950 are still felt today in countless ways.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about as you reflect on 1950. Consider how those seeds, the seeds of both incredible prosperity and this deep anxiety, were planted right alongside each other in the same soil at the same time. How do those foundational things, the economic shifts, the cultural innovations, those geopolitical tensions that really flared up in 1950, how do they still influence the world we live in, the choices we face, even today?